December 1944, Krinkelt-Rocherath, Belgium. Elements of the 12th SS Panzer Division under SS Standartenführer Hugo Krass advanced through snow and mud, their Panzer IV and Panther tanks grinding toward American lines. Infantry from the 2nd Infantry Division, led by Major General Walter Robertson, wait in foxholes and ruined houses, gripping 2.36-inch bazookas, effective at 50 to 100 yards. German armor expecting to crush riflemen halts in tight streets as bazooka teams fire from cellars and upper floors, rockets striking side armor. Tanks burn turrets, stilled crews escaping into machine gun fire. General Dwight Eisenhower, Supreme Allied Commander, later names the bazooka among 4 tools of victory in World War II, recognizing its role in such desperate stands. The weapon's key strength penetration of about 3 to 4 inches of armor, largely independent of range within its effective distance, shapes these village battles. Snow falls, smoke rises, and the German push weakens under sudden rocket fire. German officers reading reports of lost tanks curse. American infantry now strike from shadows. The bazooka, a basic tube and rocket, makes foxholes deadly for tanks. In 1940, German Panzer divisions carved through France, exposing infantry weakness, American planners and later US. Riflemen in North Africa, equipped with Springfield, rifles, hand grenades and towed 37mm anti-tank guns, faced tanks they could not stop in open fields. The M10-shaped charge grenade existed, but was awkward to deliver by hand, too heavy to throw, and too awkward as a rifle grenade. By 1942, German Panzer III and Panzer IV tanks ruled battlefields, their frontal armor deflecting most infantry weapons. At Aberdeen Proving Ground, engineers Leslie Skinner and Edward Uhl combined a rocket with the M10 warhead, creating the M1 Bazooka, a 2.36-inch tube capable of penetrating about 3 to 4 inches of armor, a capability largely independent of range within its effective envelope. Deployed for Operation Torch in November 1942, it arrived with minimal training and faulty M6 rockets prone to fuse failures. Success meant every American platoon gained a portable weapon against tanks and bunkers, shifting the balance. Failure left infantry vulnerable, dependent on distant tank destroyers or artillery. In North Africa, bazooka teams targeted light vehicles or tracks under fire, but struggled against heavier tanks in open desert. The weapon's effective combat range, roughly 100 to 150 yards, demands close combat, reshaping anti-tank tactics. British desert trials in 1942 verified penetration against Panzer III armor, but revealed limits in vast terrain where tanks roamed freely. The United States Army refined rocket reliability and tube strength, preparing the bazooka for broader use. Initial results varied. In Tunisia, bazookas destroyed light armor and pillboxes, but faltered against Tiger tanks whose frontal armor exceeded rocket penetration. Germans capturing M1 bazookas in 1943 analyzed them later, producing the 88mm Panzerschreck. The bazooka sparked a tactical shift. Infantry now engaged armor directly without waiting for heavy guns. Platoons carried tank-killing power, though gunners risked exposure at close range. Training lagged with soldiers, learning the weapon in battle, not drills. The bazooka's core strength penetration of about 3 to 4 inches of armor, largely independent of range within its effective envelope, defines its niche. It excels in tight terrain, where infantry ambush from cover but struggles in open fields. By 1943, American divisions wove bazookas into tactics, pairing them with machine guns and mortars for layered defenses. Weighing 15 pounds, the weapon moved quickly, unlike towed guns. German tank crews, once bold against riflemen, grew cautious in woods or villages, fearing hidden rockets. American commanders observed infantry holding ground with new tenacity. Range remained the constraint. Hits beyond the bazooka's effective envelope lost accuracy. In North Africa and Sicily, bazooka teams crept close to targets, often under fire, to strike effectively. Yet the weapon's simplicity load, aim fire enabled small units to act alone. By late 1943, bazookas spread to European and Pacific theaters, their role expanding as German armor navigated tighter terrain in Normandy and beyond. German commanders tallying losses noted a shift. American infantry, once easily overrun, now wielded a weapon that struck from ambush. The bazooka's emergence marked a turning point, setting the stage for battles where close-range tactics redefined infantry's role against armor. In 1942, the M1 bazooka entered service, a hasty response to German armor. Early versions deployed for Operation Torch faltered with weak tubes and M6 rockets, their fuses often failing in desert conditions. By 1943, the M1A1 refined ignition systems and reinforced the tube, improving reliability. The M9 and M9A, one rolled out in 1944, introduced a two-piece takedown design for portability and upgraded sights, extending practical effective range to around 100 to 150 yards. Penetration was about 3 to 4 inches of armor, a capability largely independent of range within the weapon's effective envelope, and rockets began detonating far more consistently. Production ramped up roughly 500,000 too. 36-inch bazookas were manufactured during World War II, supported by millions of rockets. British tests in 1942, held in North African deserts, proved the bazooka could breach Panzer III armor, but its short range hampered use in open terrain. In tight settings, villages, woods, hedgerows, the weapon excelled, letting infantry strike from concealment. It destroyed light vehicles, damaged medium tank flanks and rear armor, but Panther and Tiger frontal plates were thicker than the bazooka could reliably defeat. Infantry adapted, aiming for tracks or engines at close range, leveraging the bazooka's portability. Rocket reliability improved after field testing and design changes. Germans, seizing M1 bazookas in Tunisia in 1943, studied them intently. Captured models helped spur German development of larger caliber rocket launchers, such as the 88mm Panzer introduced in 1943, and capable of penetrating substantially more armor than the 2.36-inch rocket. The Panzerfaust, a separate single-shot recoilless launcher, emerged as a low-cost, close-range anti-tank weapon, effective at short distances. Both weapons reflected the same shoulder-fired shaped charge logic, and German reports showed tank crews increasingly avoiding confined terrain where infantry with rockets might hide. American engineers, driven by combat reports, enhanced the bazooka. The M9's collapsible tube aided airborne forces and weighed roughly 16 pounds. Improved sights boosted accuracy, though the weapon's effective range remained under about 150 yards. In Normandy's bocage, teams fired from very close range to strike tanks, but in open fields they risked exposure. The bazooka's minimal training requirement load-aim fire enabled rapid adoption. By 1944, bazookas were widely issued down to infantry platoons and paired with machine guns and mortars for layered defense. German innovation reflected the bazooka's influence. Larger German rocket launchers and the inexpensive Panzerfaust enabled widespread infantry anti-tank capability. Both sides came to view shoulder-fired rockets as vital reshaping infantry tactics. Bazooka teams, vulnerable after firing, learned to reposition quickly as rockets revealed their locations. German tank crews, fearing ambushes, increasingly avoided narrow paths. By late 1944, the bazooka's role in halting tanks in forests and villages had solidified, helping set the stage for stands like Krinkelt-Rocherath. German officers surveying wrecked panzers reported the lethal effect of unseen launchers. In the frozen Ardennes, December 17, 1944, Private First Class William A. Soderman Company K-9th Infantry Regiment 2nd Infantry Division stands near Rocherath. A German Panther lumbers forward its tracks, crunching snow. Soderman, clutching a 2.36-inch bazooka, fires at 30 yards, the rocket slamming into the tank's flank. The vehicle halts, smoke pouring from its engine. Wounded by return fire, Soderman reloads, disabling another tank before collapsing. His stand, later earning the Medal of Honor, helps halt a German spearhead. Across Normandy, Hürtgen Forest and Aachen bazooka teams mirror his resolve, using hedgerows, rubble and upper floors to strike tanks and pillboxes at close range. Penetration was about 3 to 4 inches of armor, enough for side armor and running gear, but not reliably for Panther frontal plates. American infantry, often undertrained, mastered the bazooka in combat. In Normandy's bocage, soldiers crawled through ditches, firing at 20 to 30 yards to hit Panzer IV tracks. In Aachen's streets, teams on rooftops targeted engine decks, exploiting urban cover. The weapon weighed roughly 13 to 16 pounds, depending on model, allowing quick repositioning critical after firing as rockets revealed positions. Soldiers paired bazookas with machine guns pinning German infantry, while rockets struck vehicles. The constraint was exposure. Gunners had to close to the weapon's effective range and risked counterfire. German tank crews in post-war accounts describe shock at close-range rockets, piercing armor in woods and towns, forcing slower, more cautious advances. German Panzer Grenadier reports from 1944 detail bazooka ambushes in narrow streets. In the Elsenborn sector, around Krinkelt and Rocherath bazooka, teams were credited with more than a dozen tank kills in after-action reports, alongside losses caused by guns and mines. Tank commanders, once bold, hesitated to enter villages wary of infantry with shoulder-fired launchers. The Panzerschreck and Panzerfaust, issued widely by 1944, gave German infantry similar power, but American bazookas, integrated into many platoons, shifted the dynamic. In Hurtgen's dense woods, U.S., teams damaged or destroyed self-propelled guns and assault guns at short range, disrupting German assaults. The human toll shaped tactics. American gunners, often young privates, faced tanks with minimal cover, knowing a missed shot invited retaliation. Training evolved mid-war, emphasizing aim for weak points, tracks, rear engines, since frontal armor resisted the bazooka's penetration. German crews in Panthers and Tigers adapted by avoiding confined terrain where possible, but tight battlefields like the Ardennes limited their options. Post-war German studies credit infantry rockets with sowing caution among tank crews. American reports from Bastogne note bazooka teams delaying or stopping individual tanks, buying time for artillery or tank destroyers. The bazooka's simplicity load, aim-fire empowered small units, but its short, effective range demanded courage. In Carentan's urban fighting bazooka teams participated in actions that destroyed German assault guns at close range. The weapon's portability let soldiers maneuver through rubble or forests, unlike towed anti-tank guns. German accounts from Elsenborn Ridge describe burning vehicles hit by rockets fired from unseen foxholes. Infantry on both sides now wielded tank-killing tools, leveling the once unequal fight. American soldiers facing panzers no longer felt entirely defenseless, while German crews dreaded ambushes. By late 1944, the bazooka's psychological edge was clear. Soldiers like Sodermann, risking all at point-blank range, embodied its impact. German tank losses in village fighting and narrow streets reflected the weapon's role in close defense. While artillery and air power claimed more tank kills, overall bazookas sealed gaps, giving riflemen a direct role in armored warfare. The effective short ranges around 50 yards often proved decisive for ambushes. German tankers scanned for launchers and adjusted tactics accordingly. The bazooka's true strength emerged in close terrain, where infantry used it to disrupt German armor. In Normandy's Bocage, June 1944, American platoons ambushed Panzer, 4 tanks from hedgerows, firing at 30 yards to strike side armor. In Hurtgen forest villages, bazooka teams engaged assault guns at short range, halting or blunting pushes. Urban battles in Carentan and Aachen saw gunners on upper floors, hitting engine decks, exploiting portability. In the Ardennes, December 1944, bazooka teams in the 2nd Infantry Division contributed to significant German armoured losses in close fights. At Elsenborn Ridge, after-action reports credited infantry rockets with helping stop German armoured probes in narrow streets. Around Bastogne bazooka, teams delayed lone Panthers and other vehicles firing from foxholes at under 100 yards and buying time for heavier defences. The weapon's effective range under 150 yards forced gunners into close combat but enabled rapid local responses. Platoons integrated bazookas with machine guns and mortars to create flexible defences. While artillery and airstrikes accounted for many armoured losses, bazooka teams filled critical gaps and repositioned after firing to avoid counterfire. The bazooka's impact grew in specific conditions: woods, villages, road junctions, and river crossings. In Aachen's rubble, gunners helped neutralize pillboxes and light vehicles supporting advances. During Rhine crossings in 1945, bazooka teams assisted engineers by suppressing or disabling bunker positions at short range. Paratroopers carried collapsible models on airborne operations, where portability mattered. German reports from 1944 Note rising caution among tank crews, avoiding tight terrain that might conceal rocket ambushes. American after-action logs from the Elsenborn sector recorded many burning and disabled vehicles with a substantial share attributed to close-range infantry rockets. Both sides adapted doctrine. Germans, fielding Panzerschrecks and Panzerfausts, mirrored American tactics arming infantry for close-range tank kills. By 1944, shoulder-fired rockets had become central to anti-tank strategy, reducing reliance on towed guns. American bazooka teams, often two-man crews, learned to aim for tracks or rear armor, since frontal shots rarely penetrated heavier tanks. Training stressed mobility, with gunners relocating after firing to dodge retaliation. The bazooka's core metric of roughly 3 to 4 inches of penetration limited its role to specific scenarios, but ensured lethality in ambushes. German tankers, in post-war accounts, described villages as particularly hazardous, with rockets striking from unseen angles. Operational data underscores the bazooka's niche. In the Ardennes, elements of the 12th SS Panzer Division suffered heavy losses to a mix of anti-armor fires in close fighting. Baston's defense included instances where bazooka teams delayed or stopped individual tanks assisting the wider defensive effort. The weapon's portability let squads react faster than towed anti-tank guns, and while it was not a war winner alone, the bazooka empowered infantry to resist armor without immediate heavy support, a shift German planners had underestimated. The bazooka's tactical role by 1945 had reshaped close-quarters armored engagements and forced German armor into more cautious, constrained patterns. Early in World War II, tanks reigned supreme, their armor and mobility overwhelming infantry. German doctrine honed in Poland and France assumed well-supported panzers could crush riflemen unless stopped by heavy guns or rival tanks. By 1943, the M1 bazooka, issued increasingly to American platoons, began to erode this belief. Its 2.36-inch rocket, capable of penetrating about 3 to 4 inches of armor, a capability largely independent of range within its effective envelope, empowered small units to strike from ambush. In Normandy's hedgerows, Hurtgen's woods and Aachene's streets, bazooka teams halted German thrusts, firing from 20 yards to disable tracks or engines. The myth of tank invincibility cracked as infantry gained organic tank-killing power. The turning point came in late 1944, particularly in the Krinkelt-Rocherath sector. On December, 17 elements of the 12th SS Panzer Division, expecting to overrun 2nd Infantry Division lines, suffered heavy losses to anti-armor fires in narrow streets. Private First Class William A. Soderman's stand, disabling multiple tanks at 30 yards, exemplified the shift. German tankers, accustomed to scattering riflemen, now faced rockets from foxholes and windows. Tank crews slowed their advances, scanning for launchers, their confidence shaken. The bazooka weighed roughly 13 to 16 pounds, depending on model. Let infantry exploit terrain, turning villages into kill zones. This inflection extended beyond American lines. Germans, wielding 88mm Panzerschrecks and short-range Panzerfausts, adopted the same logic, arming infantry to counter Allied tanks. By 1944, shoulder-fired rockets redefined warfare, with both sides integrating them into anti-tank doctrine. The earlier tank terror psychology, where infantry fled armored assaults, collapsed. American riflemen, once reliant on distant artillery, now engaged panzers directly. German crews, in post-war accounts, admitted avoiding woods and towns, fearing close-range ambushes. The bazooka's range, effective under about 150 yards, forced gunners into danger, but ensured lethality in tight terrain. Eisenhower's 1945 remark, naming the bazooka among 4 tools of victory, reflected this new balance. The weapon did not replace artillery or tank destroyers, which claimed most armor kills, but it empowered platoons to hold ground independently. In Bastogne, bazooka teams delayed or stopped individual tanks in some sectors, buying time for artillery or tank destroyers. At Elsenborn, Ridge and surrounding roads, infantry rockets contributed to substantial vehicle losses in close fights. The bazooka's simplicity load aim fire required minimal training, ensuring wide use. Millions of rockets were produced by war's end. The collapse of tank dominance was tactical and psychological. German commanders reviewing Ardennes losses noted infantry rockets forced slower, more cautious movements, negating Panzer's speed. American after-action reports from Carentan describe bazooka teams participating in actions that destroyed assault guns at close range. The weapon's portability lets squads maneuver through forests or ruins, unlike towed guns. By 1945, the bazooka's widespread issue roughly 500,000 36-inch launchers produced in World War II embedded anti-tank power at the squad level, a shift German planners in 1940 had not foreseen. The number that matters was often 50 yards optimal short range for decisive ambushes. Infantry now dictated close-range engagements, forcing tanks into predictable paths where artillery or air power could strike. The bazooka's role in stands like Krinkelt-Rocherath proved small teams could stall armoured spearheads, buying time for heavier defences. German tankers, once dismissive of riflemen, now dreaded the hidden launcher their earlier freedom of action curtailed. This shift, driven by a simple rocket tube, marked a new era in infantry warfare. In the Ardennes, December 1944, German spearheads faltered against American infantry belts, where 2.36-inch bazookas, paired with artillery, and Shermans contributed to heavy losses among attacking armoured units. The bazooka, with penetration of about 3 to 4 inches of armour, gave riflemen power to hold key junctions like Krinkelt-Rocherath. General Dwight Eisenhower named it among 4 tools of victory, Jeep C-47 bazooka, and the atomic bomb, crediting its role in close defense. Post-war, the United States developed the 3.5-inch super bazooka, followed by recoilless rifles and the M72 LAW, all building on the bazooka's shoulder-fired shaped charge logic. German Panzerschreck and Panzerfaust designs influenced global anti-tank weapons. Soviet RPG families emerging in the 1950s adopted the same portable rocket-based approach, prioritizing infantry mobility. The bazooka did not win the war alone. Artillery, air power, and tank destroyers claimed most armor kills, but the bazooka sealed gaps, empowering riflemen to resist without immediate heavy support. German planners in 1940 did not anticipate infantry rockets reshaping armored warfare. Post-war doctrines worldwide reflected this lesson, with shoulder-fired launchers standard in modern armies. The bazooka's legacy lay in its mass production and tactical shift, proving small units could challenge tanks directly. German tankers burned out in Ardennes villages learned this too late.